In just a couple of years, Amazon Sports Jay Marine has turned Amazon Prime Video into a sports powerhouse. As global head of sports, Marine led Amazon's effort to add both the NFL and NBA to Prime Video. We spoke with him about fending off legacy rivals and the rather mysterious calculation behind making money off live sports rights. All right, Jay, I want to ask you a question that I cover this industry and I still don't fully understand it, and I'm sure people watching are very curious about the business model that Amazon uses when it makes a decision whether or not to buy sports rights. Can you explain to me the math behind how you figure out how much to bid on a given sport?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's important to step back. So everything we do, we start with the customer and work backwards. And for us, it all starts with Prime. So we sit around, not just in the sports group, but across the company and say, how can we make Prime better for Prime members? How can we make it more valuable? What would add value to that Prime membership? Because we want it to be the most valuable membership program in the world. And so what we have found is live sports can uniquely do that. You know, sports fans, and I know you're one of them and I'm one of them, sports are uniquely valuable because they're non-substitutable. They're part of our passion. They change whether you have a good day or bad day. So they're an important part of people's lives. And so what we have found is that Prime members have responded incredibly well to us adding live sports to our membership program. So now, in terms of how we evaluate those, what you really see us doing is going after the top tier 1 primary sports in every country we operate in. Because why? Because they can move the needle. So importantly, for something to invest at Amazon, it has to be big enough to move the needle, be important enough to enough Prime members to care about. And then second question we always ask is, can we do it better? Is there an opportunity to innovate? Can we make the experience and the broadcast experience better for fans? And in live sports, as we look at this transition from a traditional broadcast to a streaming broadcast where we know the consumer, we know who's watching, there's no shelf space, you know, we don't have limited channels, so we can do alternative streams. So, and we're just getting started. You're seeing a lot of that innovation on Thursday Night Football, but we are just getting started. So those are really the two criterias of, can it add value to Prime? And do we think we can do a great job and innovate and move the ball forward for fans and that overall viewing experience?
Because it strikes me that there've got to be a few more elements than that, right? There's an advertising component. There's a commerce component. Like, are you getting sort of in the weeds on these things? Do you have, is there an Excel spreadsheet that exists somewhere that says, we think the NBA is going to lead to X amount of dollars purchased?
Yeah. So let me get back to your math question, which I know you wanted to get at, is the way you have to think about it is live sports. First of all, we've been at this for a while, 9-10 years. We started in Europe with Champions or Premier League and then Champions League. So we've learned a lot over this time as well as technically. On the business side, what we see with live sports is it brings new Prime members in. Okay, so that's acquisition. But what we also see is the existing base is getting more value out of their membership. They're watching, they care about it, they know there's another season of Thursday Night Football coming, or in Europe, another season of Champions League.
Churn.
Higher retention is what I would say, but both sides of that coin, right? So they're retaining their membership at a higher rate. Prime is more valuable to them, and we're acquiring new members. Now, acquiring new members only works if your program is strong and people are going to stay. We have a lot of confidence in the value we're putting out in Prime. So when we acquire new Prime members and they learn the rest of the Prime offerings, fast one-day shipping, Prime Music, and then the rest of Prime Video with our originals, what we find is they stay. And so that becomes a very accretive model when you get that working. Advertising is another important component, especially here in the US, because all US sports are sort of engineered with a lot of advertising. But I would say, so that's important, and we're growing our video ad business. As I think you know, we now have ad tier in Prime Video, even more so than sports. But I would say advertising is not the reason we do sports, and that's important. It's a key component to the monetization model, just like it is everywhere. But the key reason we do it is because it's working for Prime members. They've responded to it, and all those aspects are working together. And to your point, we have a very differentiated model because we have multiple benefits in Prime. So it is very complicated to understand the whole picture. But we're constantly evaluating that. And what I can tell you is we have a lot of faith and we've learned a lot in the value that high-end sports can bring to Prime.
You're now going to become the NBA's primary global streaming partner starting next year. What was your pitch to Adam Silver when you guys won the rights?
Well, first of all, I have so much respect for Adam and the NBA, like what they've done in terms of growing the league, a much very young fan base, a global fan base. If you're a league commissioner, Adam, and you think about the next decade, right? This is an 11-year deal with the NBA. And you think about the next decade, well, you say, who's the company who's going to be there, who's going to invest side by side to continue to grow this league? And where are future viewers going to be watching? And, I think that's a lot of the benefit we bring, and who has the scale of customer eyeballs, right? So with over 200 million Prime members globally, we can obviously reach that viewing audience. But importantly, our viewing audience, if you take Thursday Night Football, our viewing audience is 7 years younger than the viewing audience watching the NFL on linear. So again, if you want to go to where the future is and you're going to commit to a long-term partner, you want to know that that partner is going to be where customers are and that partner's ready to invest side by side to go innovate the viewing experience. And I know that was very important for Adam.
Do you think that we are on a path where ultimately 5 to 10 years down the road, the major sports rights will be owned by the largest tech companies and the legacy guys will kind of die out through attrition?
I wouldn't say that. I never like to speculate because someone will bring it up when I'm wrong, 3 years later. I know that's your job. But I think there is incredible companies who've been doing this very well for a long time. And I have so much respect for all of them, and I've studied, their broadcast, and they do a fantastic job. Now, a lot of their businesses are going through a period of disruption and transition. And, what that looks like on the other side, I don't know. There's been numerous stories about media and whether it be consolidation, and there probably will be at some point in some areas. But I think what everybody has learned is sports brings unique value to any business model. And whether it's the traditional linear business or cable business, which obviously was a fantastical business model, or in streaming, where it provides incredible value. So I would not assume that those players are going away myself.